My name is Ava, I'm 35 years old, and before everything went crazy, I used to think surprises only happened in movies. But nothing prepared me for the night everything changed. The night my brother drove my luxury car to a club without telling me. But wait, let me start the way you asked. Picture this. The dining room was quiet. Forks clicking. My parents pretending everything was normal. Then Dad looked up with that "we know something" face and said, "We know about the new car. And your brother is going to be riding it with you." Froze. I acted as if I didn't hear anything. I simply kept chewing my food like a calm cow. They watched me the way teachers watch kids who are lying about homework. 1 week later I walked outside and didn't see my car in the driveway. Not my old Toyota. Not my mom's sedan. My luxury car. Then my phone buzzed. Friend sent a video. And there he was. My younger brother Tyler, wearing sunglasses at night, standing beside my new car at a club, revving the engine like he owned it. My mouth dropped. "What the F is K?" I said out loud as my heart punched my ribs. And that is where everything truly began. But let me take you back, way back, to how I even won that car, why I didn't tell my parents, and how I found myself standing in my driveway with my soul leaving my body. Before I go deeper, tell me, where are you watching from? Canada? The United States? Somewhere else? Let me introduce the people in this story properly so you'll understand why everything went down the way it did. There's me, Ava, the woman who loves peace, books, and quiet mornings. I work hard, mind my business, and try to treat people kindly even when life gets messy. My belief has always been simple. Kindness comes back in ways you don't expect. My dad, Robert, is loud, old-fashioned, and believes the firstborn daughter is basically a family backup generator. Always on, always useful, always available. My mom, Linda, is sweet to strangers and strict at home. She loves order, routines, and making decisions for people who never asked for help. And then there's Tyler, the golden boy. The baby of the family. The one who gets celebrated for doing the bare minimum, while I'm expected to perform miracles on command. Now you know the cast. Here's how it all began. It was a Saturday morning. I had gone to the mall to buy toothpaste and dish soap, normal grown woman problems, when I walked by a booth announcing, "Enter to win a new luxury car today." A white Lexus, shining like something straight out of a dream, sat behind the booth. People were signing forms. Some were laughing like, "I'll never win, but why not?" I wasn't even going to stop, but the lady at the table smiled and said, "You look like someone who deserves good news today." I didn't know why, but her words touched me. Filled the form. Number. Email. I walked away and never thought about it again. 3 days later, I was at work eating leftover pasta when I got a call from an unknown number. "Hi, may I speak to Ava?" "Yes, this is she. This is Melissa from the Motors event team. I'm calling to inform you that you won." Blinked. "Won what?" "The luxury car, ma'am." I choked on my pasta. I coughed like a dying engine. I held the phone tight because I truly thought it was a prank. But it wasn't. They asked me to come by that evening to sign the papers and take pictures. I didn't want my parents' opinions or their drama, so I kept everything quiet. Silent. Hidden. I showed up, signed the documents, touched the steering wheel, and felt like I was dreaming. When I drove it home for the first time, I parked 3 blocks away and walked the rest of the distance. I wasn't ready for the questions. I wasn't ready for the claims. I wasn't ready for the arguments. I just needed 1 week. 1 week of joy without explanation. But happiness doesn't go unnoticed in my family. Somehow they always sense when I'm doing well. Which leads us back to dinner. There we were, Dad, Mom, Tyler, and me. I had barely taken a bite when Dad cleared his throat and said loudly, "So, we know about the new car." My heart jumped. "And your brother is going to be riding it with you," he added, like he was announcing a new family tradition. My mom nodded like her head was glued to agreement. Tyler smirked. Played dumb. Pretended nothing happened. Pretended not to hear. Because if they knew, how did they know? Who told them? What did they want? But I stayed silent. And silence can be dangerous. 7 days later. My car disappeared. At first I thought maybe I parked it somewhere else, but no, I knew exactly where I put it. Then came the video. My brother at a club. Beside him white car. Taking pictures with girls who were calling him rich boy. My blood turned into fire. And just like that, the calm, quiet Ava vanished. What happened next? Oh, trust me, you're not ready. Because that night didn't just end with anger. It spiraled into something none of us expected. Something that changed the entire family. But that's for later. For now, I'll end chapter 1 here. Right at the moment my jaw dropped, my hands shook, and I whispered, "What the fuck?" And then, something even worse happened right in front of me. I didn't even have time to finish saying, "What the fuck?" when my phone buzzed again. Another message. Another video. This time the angle was closer. Tyler was now inside my car, leaning back like he had paid for it, built it, blessed it, and birthed it himself. Music blasted. Colored lights flashed across his face. 2 girls squeezed into the passenger seat, laughing as he revved the engine like some kind of budget action movie star. Then I saw it. He was driving drunk. My stomach twisted so hard I couldn't breathe. But hold on, let me slow down and tell you how everything led to this exact moment. Because if you don't understand my family, you won't understand why this moment felt like every bone in my body cracked at the same time. I grew up believing in kindness. Not because life was kind to me, but because I always felt the world needed more softness. My grandma used to say, "Being good doesn't mean letting people use you. Learn the difference." At 12, I helped a neighbor with groceries. At 18, I stayed late at school volunteering. At 25, I donated to shelters even when I couldn't really afford it. I thought kindness made people respect you. But in my family, kindness only made them think I could be controlled. Dad always said, "You're the strong one. You can handle more." Mom always said, "You're responsible. You don't need help." Tyler. He got everything on a silver plate. Sometimes I wondered if I was born holding a toolbox and he was born holding a golden ticket. But even with all that, I tried to be patient. I tried to be gentle. I believed that if I just stayed calm, things would change. Spoiler alert. They didn't. Now let me introduce the extended members of the Chaos Crew. There's Uncle Henry, the family gossip distributor, who somehow always knows people's secrets before their own shadows know. There's Aunt Karen, who believes boys should be treated like kings and girls like free babysitters. And then my cousin Megan, the only sane person in the whole family. A nurse, an angel, the person who always checked on me and reminded me I deserved better. All of them would eventually play a part in how the story unraveled. But back to the day it all exploded. After winning the car, I hid it like a national treasure. I parked it away from home, visited it like a secret lover, and only drove it when I knew no one was around. At least for that 1 week I got to feel blessed. Every morning I sat inside the car and whispered, "You are mine. Just mine. Not theirs." Then came the dinner. Dad said they knew. Mom agreed. Tyler smirked. The air tightened around my neck like a rope. But I pretended not to hear because I refused to let the family drama swallow my joy. Until the morning I found the driveway empty. My heart cracked first. My voice cracked second. Reality cracked last. And now, watching this new video of my brother laughing, drinking, driving, risking in my car and other people's lives, I felt something deep inside me snap. For years I swallowed my anger. For years I stayed polite. For years I stepped aside. But in that moment, I felt every inch of tiredness from all those years climb up my throat. "Not today," I whispered. I grabbed my keys. My bag. My sanity barely. Megan called just then and said, "Are you seeing the video? Girl, you better come get your car before he kills somebody." "I'm on my way," I said. But the universe wasn't done throwing drama at me. Because as I stepped onto my front porch, ready to storm out and drag my car back home by its tires if I had to, a black SUV rolled up and parked right in front of me. The engine shut off. A man stepped out. Serious. Wearing a badge around his neck. Froze. He looked straight at me and said, Ma'am, we need to talk. It's about your car. My heart stopped. My breath stopped. Everything stopped. What happened next would shake the entire family. And this time there would be no pretending, no hiding, and no silence. The man with the badge didn't smile, didn't blink, didn't breathe wrong. He just stood there like a wall shaped like a human. My chest tightened as I stared at him. Ma'am, he repeated. We need to talk. It's about your car. My mind flashed through every possible disaster. Did Tyler crash it? Was someone hurt? Was the car stolen and used for something insane? Did he hit someone? Please God, did he hit someone? I swallowed hard. Is something wrong? I asked, my voice shaking like a loose window in a storm. The officer glanced around. It's best we talk inside. Inside. No. This was bad. This was very, very bad. I opened the door slowly, like the hinges might explode if I moved too fast. The officer stepped in and looked around the living room. Mom was folding laundry. Dad was pretending to read a newspaper but obviously listening. Tyler wasn't home, clearly still at the club with my car. Mom raised an eyebrow. Officer, did something happen? He turned to me. You're the owner of the white Lexus, correct? Not the person who won the car. Not the sister of the driver. Not the family. The owner. That word was the only thing keeping my lungs working. Yes, I said. I'm the owner. Dad coughed loudly like he wanted to interrupt, but the officer ignored him. There was a call from the club district. A vehicle matching your car's description was reported drifting dangerously near a main road. My heart dropped straight to my feet. Then he added, and the driver nearly hit another car while leaving. Gasp. Dad lowered his newspaper. The room turned into stone. Hit, I whispered. Nearly hit. Yes. No one was injured, but it's serious. We need the driver to come in for questioning. My palms went cold. But I wasn't driving, I said. Dad jumped in, voice high with panic. She didn't mean that. She lent the car to someone responsible. The officer squinted. Who was driving the car tonight? Silence. Heavy. Early. Mom looked at me like I had smuggled a criminal into the house. Dad glared like this was somehow my fault. But I didn't care about them anymore. I was done covering for Tyler. Done protecting him. Done letting everyone pretend he was a baby who didn't know better. But I also couldn't throw him straight into the fire. I needed time. I needed to think. I needed to breathe. The officer studied my face. Ma'am, we need an answer. I inhaled slowly. My car was taken without my permission. Silence. The type of silence that makes even the walls gasp. Mom's mouth opened. Dad's eyes widened. The officer lifted his brow. Taken, he repeated. Yes, I said. I didn't know it was gone until a few minutes ago. The officer nodded slowly, writing something in his book. So this is an unauthorized use of a vehicle. Do you know who took it? I hesitated. Mom hissed my name under her breath like a warning snake. Dad shook his head slightly, begging me to stay quiet. But the truth was sitting in my chest like a burning weight. Yes, I said. Mom gasped. Ava. And then, there was a loud knock on the door. Bang, bang, bang. We all jumped. The officer went still. Dad froze. Mom covered her mouth. The knocking came again, this time louder. Bang, bang, bang. I walked toward the door with shaky legs and opened it. And nearly screamed. 'Cause standing there was Tyler. Drunk. Sweaty. His glassy. And leaning one elbow on the hood of my car like he was posing for a magazine. Right there. In front of the cop who just said he needed to question the driver. I swear for a moment the earth stopped spinning. Tyler looked at me and slurred. Hey sis. You didn't tell me you were having a party. Then he stumbled inside, right past the police officer. Dad whispered, Oh God. Mom whispered, No, 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 no. And I whispered, He's dead. He's so dead. The officer turned slowly, like a robot receiving new data. Sir, he said firmly, I need you to come with me. Tyler blinked. Why? I didn't do anything. Cut. The officer stepped closer. You were operating that vehicle. That's my sister's car, he said proudly. I'm helping her break it in. I wanted to faint, disappear, melt, teleport. Anything. The officer nodded. Then I need you to answer some questions at the station. Mom rushed forward. He's just a boy. He didn't mean anything. He's tired. He's 23, I snapped. Not 5. Dad grabbed my arm hard. Don't talk, he whispered angrily. Not now. But I didn't care. Not after what he did. Not after he risked lives. Not after he nearly ruined everything. The officer reached for his handcuffs. That's when Tyler yelled. Wait. It's not my fault. She let me take the car. She said I could drive it any time I wanted. He pointed at me. The room spun. My knees almost buckled. Mom gasped like she believed him. Dad stepped back like the blame was shifting away from him. And the officer's eyes landed on me, sharp and cold. My entire life suddenly balanced on one decision. One truth. One lie. One sentence. Before I could speak. Before I could defend myself. Before I could explain. A loud crash erupted outside the house. Everyone jerked their heads toward the window. Tires screeched. People screamed. Metal twisted. Something big had just happened right outside. And it involved my car. The officer rushed out the door. My heart sprinted into my throat. Followed. Dad, Mom, and even drunken Tyler ran behind me. There. Right in front of our house. My luxury car was smashed on one side. 'Cause another driver had just crashed straight into it. I covered my mouth in shock. The officer shouted orders. Neighbors ran out. Sirens echoed in the distance. And as I stared at the broken glass shining under the streetlights, the only thought in my mind was, this isn't even the worst part. Something bigger is coming. And oh, it was. For a moment, all I could hear was the ringing in my ears. Not the neighbors screaming. Not the officer shouting. Not the sirens approaching in the distance. Just the ringing. My beautiful luxury car. The car I won on my own. The car I kept secret for 1 week. Was now smashed on the right side like someone had taken a bite out of it. Glass everywhere. Metal twisted. Headlights blinking like they were dying. I stepped forward slowly, my hand shaking over my mouth. My chest felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible fist. The officer hurried toward the crash site. A man in another car stumbled out, clearly in shock but thankfully not injured. He held his hands up saying, I didn't see it. I swear I didn't see it parked there. Neighbors rushed out with phones, filming everything like they were CNN reporters. Behind me, Dad muttered, This is bad. This is really bad. Mom held her head with both hands. Tyler, still half drunk, suddenly sobered up as the flashing lights got closer. But while everyone panicked, I did something I had never done before. I stood perfectly still, perfectly calm, perfectly cold, because inside me, something had snapped so deeply, so cleanly, that there was no fear left. Only clarity. The officer came toward us again. We need statements, he said. Before he could ask anything else, the other driver, shaking, sweating, pointed directly at my damaged car. I didn't see him park like that, he said. Who parked this car? The officer turned to Tyler. Tyler lifted his hands. Well, I wasn't. No, I cut in. There was no emotion in my voice. Just truth. He did. The officer looked at me. Ma'am, you're confirming he was driving your vehicle before the accident? He nodded. Yes, he took it without permission. He was seen driving dangerously earlier tonight. And he brought it here minutes ago. He's responsible for where he parked it. Dad grabbed my arm again, whispering through clenched teeth. Ava, what are you doing? Pulled my arm away. I'm telling the truth. Mom stepped closer, desperate. He's your brother. And this, I said, pointing at the wrecked car, was my car. The officer didn't waste time. Sir, I'm going to need you. I didn't mean it. Tyler shouted, backing away. I was going to bring it back. I only used it because Dad said. He stopped. Too late. Too honest. Dad stiffened. Mom covered her mouth. The officer raised an eyebrow. Because who said what? Tyler swallowed. Because Dad said. Could use it. He said Ava would be fine. Dad exploded. I never said that. Yes, you did. Tyler yelled back. You told me. I said you could ride in it. Not take it. You said ride take same thing. It is not the same thing. Neighbors stared. Phones recorded. The officer watched the two of them unravel like cheap fabric. I didn't move. Didn't react. Didn't blink. The officer turned to me. Would you like to press charges for unauthorized use of the vehicle? Dad and Mom froze. Tyler stopped breathing. The entire street seemed to go silent, waiting for my answer. I didn't speak immediately. I looked at the broken car, the shattered dreams, the mess none of them cared about preventing. My heart whispered Grandma's old words. Being good doesn't mean letting people use you. Finally, I looked the officer straight in the eye. Yes, I said quietly. I would. Mom screamed my name. Dad shouted. You're going too far. Tyler stumbled back, eyes wide. You're turning on your own family. I stepped closer to him. No, I said softly. I'm finally choosing myself. And choosing myself isn't betrayal. Then the officer reached for Tyler. Sir, you're coming with me. And for the first time in his life, my brother realized actions have consequences. He didn't fight. He didn't argue. He didn't shout. He cried. Real tears. Not the fake kind he uses when he wants something. Dad tried to stop the officer. Mom begged. But the officer kept walking. As Tyler was placed in the SUV, he looked at me through the window. Broken, scared, confused. And I felt something surprising. Not satisfaction. Not joy. Not revenge. Just peace. A deep, cold peace that comes from finally standing up after years of bending. When the SUV drove away and the sirens faded, Dad approached me slowly. You've ruined everything, he whispered. I turned to him calmly. No, I said. You ruined everything when you decided my things were yours. When you decided my boundaries didn't matter. When you taught Tyler he could take from me without consequences. Mom stepped forward, angry tears in her eyes. You didn't have to go this far. I stepped back. You didn't have to let him take my car. Silence. The neighbors went back inside. The officer tape-marked the crash site. The other driver gave his final statement. Mom and Dad avoided my eyes. The night was cold. Cold in a way that felt final. I stood beside my damaged car and exhaled. Megan arrived minutes later. She ran straight to me and held my hand. You okay? She whispered. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I said. For the first time in a long time. I actually am. She hugged me. And then came the twist none of us expected. The officer walked back toward me one last time. Ma'am, he said, before we tow the vehicle, you should know this. I straightened. The officer looked at the wrecked car, then at me. You're still under warranty. The dealership is willing to give you a replacement. Replacement. Brand new one. Better model. Graded. Stronger. My parents' jaws dropped. Megan's eyes widened. Covered my mouth. You're serious? I whispered. Very, the officer said with a small smile. They said you earned it. Mom staggered. Dad turned pale. And at that moment, standing in the cold night, with everything falling apart around my family, I realized something powerful. Choosing yourself doesn't destroy your life. It rebuilds it. When the tow truck arrived, I watched them take the damaged car away. Not with sadness, but with relief. A brand new beginning was coming. And this time, no secrets, no control, no family claiming ownership of what I earned. This time everything was mine. The story didn't end with revenge or anger. It ended with freedom and peace.